Progress.
Okay, good morning everyone. Sh'malei Chavruchim Abayim. Thank you for joining today. For those joining or those listening, I want to remind everyone, Be'ezus Hashem, March 3rd to March 5th, we're having our first Machon Magrogia convention. We're going to be speaking about amazing topics. I think we're narrowing it down to talking about the parameters of Pikuach Nefashos. What is considered Pikuach Nefashos? Does it have to be a danger now? Does it have to, or even a danger later? Or morale, is that considered sakana? We're going to be talking about halachos of coming of Mashiach and a very interesting venue. So please mark it on your calendar. Okay, today we're going to dig into a very important question. Actually, it's pretty amazing to me. Thursday night, I was looking for something to say about, I had a family event on the Shabbos, and I was looking in the Sefer Sha'ar Hamelech. I couldn't even remember the name of the Sefer. I finally hit me, Sha'ar Hamelech, Sha'ar Hamelech. I once saw something in the Hakdama there. I don't think I ever gave a share from Sha'ar Hamelech, but today's share is going to come from the Sefer Sha'ar Hamelech, just mamish by accident. The Mishnah, the opening Mishnah of Hamadar opens up, Hamadar Sishtim Elahanuslai, someone who makes a Neder. Hamadar Sishtim, someone who makes a Neder. He answers his wife in a Neder that his wife can't get Hana from him. Now typically you can't answer someone else and say someone else can't get Hana, but you could answer that they can't get Hana from you because you own it. So Ad Lamed Yoim Yamid Parnes. For 30 days you appoint someone to give her what she needs. But Mikan, yes or Mikan, more than that, Yoitzivi Ksuba. You divorce her and you give her the Ksuba. Now, Rashi says, Hamadir es ishtay melei haneslai. Rashi is bothered by the obvious question. Because seemingly, when you say to your wife, you can't get Hana, A, that means I can't support you. B, that means I'm not going to live with you. I'm not going to give you Hanas Tashmish. So, Rashi says that could you say, I'm not going to give you Hanas Tashmish? Aren't you Meshubit to her? Isn't that one of the obligations of the Ksuba? So Rashi says, Ein Hanas Tashmishai Nesar Aleha. The pleasure of the Tashmish is not asar on her. Why? Daha Meshubit. He's Meshubit to her. Hilkach Bishvil Tashmish. Therefore, because of the Tashmish, Ein Lanu L'Kayfa L'Haitzi, we're not going to force him to divorce her. V'li Ksuba. The Hanas Mezoinos, and the Hana of Mezoinos B'Gemara Parach. The Gemara asks, but you're Meshubit to her. So Rashi's understanding that the Neder is including two things. Item number one is you're not going to feed her. Item number two is you're not going to give her Hanas Tashmish. And regarding Hanas Tashmish, the Neder has no meaning because you're Meshubit to her. What about Lagabi feeding her? That's the Gemara's kasha, and the Gemara gives three answers. The Gemara says either you say to her, you keep your wages and I'm not going to support you, or you made the Neder during Erisin and it was Higia Hazman, or you made the Neder during Erisin and then the Nesuin came. So that's Rashi. Rashi seems to be learning the Neder is on two things, and for one of them, it's ineffective. So, let us come to the amazing question of the Sha'ar Hamelech. Okay? One of the Lamdasha Mefarshim on the Rambam, the Sha'ar Hamelech. And Sha'ar Hamelech asks the following question. He says, isn't there a principle? Neder shehufar miktsasai hufar kulai? That when a neder is partially ineffective, it's totally ineffective. So then why do we say, well, it's not chal legabe hanas tashmish, it is chal legabe support. Well, if it's not chal for tashmish, it shouldn't be chal for anything. Says the Sha'ar Hamelech, Mashevi Arav Aniska Raya Me'oisa Sheshanin B'Ksubas Hamadar Sishim Elhanusla Ad Lamed Yom Yamid Parnes. Because of Rashi, Hamadar Sishim Elhanusla Ein Hanas Tashmish Nesar Da Meshubad La Nira Da Hanas Tashmish B'Chlal Masha Asar Aleha Melei Hanuslai. It would seem that Hanas Tashmish includes that Hanas Tashmish is included in what you can't answer on her. Ela shleichal aleha isura. But that isur is not chal, mishum de meshubad la. You're meshubater for that. Vi armit, and if you're going to say the chal hanoy de mishnei dvarim ve'ina neder chal alecha b'yam shuter kulai, if you're going to say that there's a rule that anyone who makes a neder on two things, and the neder is not chal on one of them, the whole thing is hutar. Imkein hechi katani masnisin ad lamed yom yamid parnes. Why would the Mishnah say for 30 days you point to parnes? Hakivan doy chal anos tashmish. Since it's not chal on the tashmish, af al shar hahanois hutru. The other hanois should be mutter as well. V'av shah toisus chalkim Rashi. Even though Toisus argues on Rashi. What does it mean Toisus argues on Rashi? Toisus says that Toisus says Pirish b'kuntras the ein hanas tashmisha neser ala da meshubala mashim mitoch perusha sheyesh b'lashon hazeh iser hanas tashmish. Toisus grips Rashi that the lashon of hamaderes ishtar milhanas lay includes tashmish, but it's not chal for it. So Toisus says, "Mfarsh Rabbeinu Tam delehanos loy mashal anos mezainos." Toisus argues on Rashi. Toisus says the lashon of hamaderes ishtar milhanas lay is only referring to food; it's not referring to tashmish. So according to Toisus, there's no kasha because you never asered tashmish. But according to Rashi, where the words include tashmish, and it's just not chal for tashmish because you're meshubah to her. So then, why don't you apply the rule of Neder shehuter miksasai huter kulai?
This fits very well to the first teretz of the Gemara, because the first teretz of the Gemara is where he says,
yeah. What fits well?
Taisus is teretz, because according to the first teretz of the Gemara, the husband tells the wife,
okay,
and then he makes the neder. So clearly he was only talking about Mizainis, and he wasn't talking about tashmish.
He says to... But how do we know that? So Toisus says, stam, the words lehanais mean mezainis. You're saying they mean...
The Gemara is that the husband is telling her that you should keep your ma'aseh daim, and then he says... Then he says that she's ushered to him. Obviously, he was referring to mezainis, because then why would he say obviously it goes together. That's what the Gemara. That's exactly what the Gemara says.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what Toisus means. That's why it's referring to mezainis. Because Toisus says the word hana is loy mashma ela hanas mezainis. You're saying only because he says so. I mean, then the Gemara in the Havamina, you still. I mean, Toisus is talking even in the Gemara's Havamina. You could ask, what about Tashmish is not Chal? So you'd still need to say that the lashon of Hana is mashma mezainis and not Tashmish. But according to Rashi, that Hamader includes both. So you have this kasha the Hamelech. Why don't we say Neder shehuter miksasei huter kula? Ela muchach desrile the chol shloi chala neder meikara lo yaminu be neder shehuter miksasei huter kula. Elu tarv tevarav. So it must be that the din of neder shehuter miksasei huter kula means that if it's chal from originally, and then it's hutar, then we say hutar miksasei huter kula. But if it was never chal to begin with, then like in this case it was never chal on Hanas Tashmish because you meshubah to her, then we don't say neder shehutar because it's not called hutar. It's not hutar if it was never chal. So that's the kasha and answer of the Sha'ar Hamelech. Kasha, why don't we say neder shehutar miksasei hutar kula? The answer is it was never chal to begin with. The Rashash asks the same question as the Sha'ar Hamelech. Find it over here. Did I copy the right thing? Oh, yeah. Here it is, all the way in the bottom. Hamadir Mashma Tavush was an Isser Hanas Tashish Kashali. Amai Lai name was another Shatam Musasa Kulai Kamai Perakimel Denadarim Mishnabez Bishanimtsu Aviv Achiv Bahem Dehutru Kulan. Says Rashash. V'ra'isi laharan shehavin kavana acheres b'Rashi u'ledvarav asi Shapir. Says Rashash, if you look in the Ran, then this question becomes answered. So let's see the Ran. Let's see how the Ran learns Rashi, and let's see if Taka answers the question. The Ran says, "Hamadar sishter milhanas loy kasav Rashi ein hanas tashmir nesar alav dahamishubala peirush lepeirusha." The Ran says, "Let me tell you what Rashi means." The kivan shumader oisa b'lashon zeh. Since he makes a neder in this language, shahainu shemadir lehanas mishalai. He says, "Hamadar es isham lehanas ulai." I'm answering you to make I'm making a neder on what's mine. Eina neder chal ela ben chasav. The neder is only chal on his possessions, on what he owns. Kigavna damrin gemara. De'ilu betashmish kiven the meshubadla lav kol kamine ela ba'omer hanos tashmishcha alai. He's answering her that you can't get enough from what I have. Well, you don't have her tashmish, because her tashmish you have to give to her. So it's not yours, it's hers. So the neder was never said on the Hanoas tashmish. Here what the Ran is saying, it's not that it's hutar. You only answered what belongs to you. But Hanoas tashmish, it doesn't belong to you. The only way you could do it is if you say Hanas Tashmishcha Alai. I answer the Hanav of your Tashmish Ami. You can't feed someone something that's usher to him. V'hainu de Garsinan Biyushalmi Taman Taninan Hamader Es Ishtai Mitashmish Amita Yoitzi V'yiteng Suba Kaloimar L'Shabbos achas, oy l'shtei Shabbosas. V'hacha idmar hachi, taman b'madira migufay. Bram hacha b'madira minachasav adkan. Koloymar b'madir oysa b'lashan hashanoy b'mishnasenu, she'en ha'neder chal ela al nechasav. The lashon of the Yishalmi is that the neder only works if you say, I aser something that I own to you. So this is not really a case of neder shehutar mektsasai. It was never hutar mektsasai. It's not that the neder is including tashmish. You see what Rashi means when he says that the neder, Tosis grips Rashi, hana includes tashmish. Of course it does. Hana includes tashmish. You know what does not include it? The word shalai, the word loy. That's why. In other words, Tosus asked on Rashi. Rashi is mashma that Hamader Sisha Milahanos is mashma tashmish. But Tosus Lahanos is not mashma tashmish. So the kasha the Hamelech asked on Rashi is, if it's mashma tashmish, then we should say Hutam Mitzasem Kulai. No, says the Ran. The word Lehanos is mashma tashmish, but the word loy is not, because he doesn't own it. It belongs to her. He's a meshubah to her. That's what the Rashash means, that according to the Ran, we have an answer to the Shamelech's question. The Ayel Sashachar of Aaron Leib Steinman quotes the question of the Achroinim, Kivan Doloshan Lehanois Hainu Gami Tashmish, Nema Deneder Hushotar Musasa Hitter Kulai. So Rabbi Aaron Leib, I think, is attempting an answer here. Seems like the same thing. I mean, to me, it sounds like the same as the Rashash, as the Ran. The reason you can't answer something that you're not meshubed on, Hainu de'ino ba'alam l'inyan zeh. You're not the baal on it. You're not the owner. Nimtza d've'emes asar lehanas mishalai. The truth is, she can't get any hana from what is his. Elo d'linyan zeh ino shalai. Regarding this, it's not his. Imkein haniskayim kol hadibor. If so, the whole dibor is niskayim. Demasha hu shalai, that which is his. Ve'ino meshubed chal shaper. To me, this sounds exactly like the Ran. The Rabbi Leib gives the following mashal. V'hamashal bazeh. Im yoymar, if somebody would say, "Koinam peiroisai uperes chaver alpleni," I ask for my fruits and someone else's fruits on my friend. Do we say neder shoter miksasai huter kulai? No, loy neima. Don't say the kivin shen yachal esa peres chaver have a neder shabato miksasai. The neder al peres chaver in a neder klal. You never made a neder on your friend's fruits. V'achanami kimin sheinu balam lesar ala tashmish meshubala have a kakoilo benidra peres chaveroi ve'in ze b'chlal huter miksasai huter kulai. It almost sounds. I guess the difference would be, the Ran is learning that you're asering shalai. So the Hanas Tashis is not Shalai. Rabbi Aaron Leib is saying maybe you're not only answering Shalai, you're trying to answer everything. But since you're not able to, it's like the nether was never made for that. There's another way to understand Rashi, and that's the Machne Ephraim. Rabbi Ephraim Navon. If you want to visit his kever, it's in Turkey. Rabbi Ephraim Navon says like this: "V'lamadnu mizeh de b'nedarim yasar nafshei achevtza k'goyin she'omer koinem pi milikros shema oy shenishba loimer davar lechaver v'achakach omer koinem pi miladaber loy chayal nidra." Let's say somebody says, "I answer my mouth from saying Shema," or someone who swears. Let's say somebody swears to say something to his friend, and then he says, "I answer myself to say something to my friend." You can't answer that you're going to say something to your friend because you already swore you would. In other words, somebody swears, "I swear I'm going to speak to Pliny," and then he takes a neder. He's not going to talk to Pliny. The neder's not chal because he already took a shvua to talk to Pliny. Or he can't make a neder. You're not going to say Shema. You already swore in Har Sinai. You're going to say Shema. So what do we do with this? When Rashi says in the beginning of Hamader Sishta Milhanuslai, Rashi's bothered Hanas Tashmish. You never answered. So the question is, what do you mean you never answered? You said the Hanos Tashmish should be answered. V'hikshu alav demasha sheyesh b'lashon zeh iser. Tosfos says that it's mashma that this lashon does include iser. Ela she'enoi nesar mishum de meshubala. It's just that it's not aser because you're meshubed. In other words, the way Tosfos grips Rashi is indeed the lashon of Hamader Sishim El Hanuslai includes Hanas Tashmish. It's just you can't answer it because you're meshubed. So the Machne Ephraim asks, the Gemara asks the exact same question on Mezainos. Listen to what Rashi's saying. Rashi says, well, it's not chal on the Hanas Tashmish. Why? Because you're meshubed to her. Well, you're also meshubed on the Mezainos. So when the Gemara asks, how could you make a neder on the Mezainos? It's meshubed la. And the Gemara says, and we know you can't make a neder on something that's... Listen to this Gavaldiga Kasha. The Gemara says, we know you can't make a neder on something that you're meshubed to her. How do we know? Because a woman can't make a neder that she's not going to give her husband her wages. Why do we have to go to another Mishnah? The Mishnah itself is muchach that you can't make a neder on something you're meshubed to her. That's why you're not aser on tashmish. Right? The Gemara brings out a left field, oh, you can't ask her something that you're meshubed on. V'harai, a woman can't ask her wages. Why don't we say more pashut? You can't ask her something you're meshubed on, that's why you're not asked on tashmish. What's the answer? The answer is that when it comes to hanas tashmish, it's not that you can't make a neder on something you're meshubed on. That's not the reason the neder is not chal. It's you can't make a neder because you swore on Har Sinai to be makabel and to fulfill the mitzvahs, so you have a mitzvah of oina to the woman. So the Mishnah is not muchach that you can't aser something you're meshubed on. The reason why you can't aser hanas tashmish is not because you're meshubed to her, it's because you have a mitzvah of oina. Aval lefi ma shekasavti asi shaber the hanas tashmish she'oser gufayla havadei lechal demushba v'omer me Har Sinai. Aval hanas mezoinos she'oser nechasva aleh b'hana eina nechasim meshubadim. So in other words, the Machne Ephraim says the reason why it's not chal legabe the hanas tashmish, not like the Ran says because it's not yours, not like Rabbi Aaron Leib said because it's ki'ilu you never made a neder because you're meshubed to her. It's a totally different reason. It's because it's not effective. Why is it not effective? Because you have a biblical obligation to fulfill the mitzvah of oina. So it's not that you don't own it because you're meshubed to her. Because on that the Machne Ephraim is saying if it's because you don't own it, then the Gemara should have proved from the Mishnah itself that you can't aser something that you're meshubed on. Rather, the reason is because you're mushba v'omer me Har Sinai. And according to the Machne Ephraim, it seems like the Sha'ar Melech's question is back, namely, why don't we say neder shehuter miksasai huter kulai, unless you say like the Sha'ar Ephraim says that if it was never chal, that's not called hutar to begin with. Okay, Rabbi Say, that's just ha'ara. One second, maybe we'll see one more. Let's see the Avnei Miluim quickly. Oid nir lani astati. Even if you were to say explicitly, I aser my guf and tashmish, nami loy chayel, kainam hechad meshavdelei. V'hu mishum dehad in adarim chalim al dvar mitzvah. The reason why nedarim are chal on a dvar mitzvah, hu mishum de neder hu isar chefsa. A neder, typically, if let's say somebody says, I make a neder, then I'm not going to blow, this shofar is aser. So would that stop you from doing a mitzvah? If you're putting away for a moment, mitzvah slav lehenos netno. Normally a neder would stop a mitzvah, because a neder is an isser chavsa. And a mitzvah is not on the chayfetz. The mitzvah is on the gavra, is on the person. The person has to do the mitzvah, but the neder makes the item aser inherently. Misham hachi shvua lo chala ala mitzvah shigam kem ala adam. Therefore, a shvua is not chal on a mitzvah, which is also on a person. Shahanishba oiser atzmai al hadavar shenishba alav, v'hanoider oiser daval hanodar al atzmai. Someone who swears, he asers himself on the item, but one who makes a neder, the item becomes aser to him. So hanishba levato sa mitzvah. If somebody swears to be mevato a mitzvah, so he asers himself, but he can't aser himself because he himself is already chal. So a person can't take an oath they're not going to do a mitzvah because they already swore they will do the mitzvah on Har Sinai. He's already mushba ma'amim Har Sinai. But someone who says this item is aser to me, then it would work even on a dvar mitzvah because even though you have to do the mitzvah, but the item is chal. So in other words, a neder is chal on a mitzvah, a shvua is not chal on a mitzvah. But what if somebody says, my body is asur for tashmish? So you would think, well, if your body is asur and tashmish, then we know that a neder is chal on a dvar mitzvah. No, that's typically a neder is chal on a dvar mitzvah, because by a neder you're assuring the item on you, and the mitzvah is you have to do X, Y, and Z. But there's one mitzvah that it's not on you to do, but in other words, when it comes to the mitzvah of Oina, your guf is meshubud mehar Sinai. So that's one situation where the neder is not chal. Your guf is like the chayfetz that's muzar mehar Sinai. You become the item of the mitzvah. This is a very wild chiddush. So listen to what the Avnei Milum is saying. Usually, if you make a neder to asur an item, you can't do a mitzvah with it. But if you take a shavua that you're not going to use the item, that shavua is not chal. Again, when it comes to a dvar mitzvah, someone who swears, I'm not going to shake a lulav and esrog, hey pal, you got to shake the lulav and esrog. Why? But I swear I'm not going to do it. Yeah, but you first swore to God you are going to do it on Har Sinai. But if someone asers lulav and esrog, the isser koinam, then you can't take it. You swore on Har Sinai, you're obligated to do it. Yeah, I swore my body is going to do an act. The problem is, this item is usher to me. So a neder is chal on an item. A neder will stop you from doing a mitzvah. A shvua will not stop you from doing a mitzvah. However, when it comes to tashmish, if somebody says, koinam gufi letashmishach, that's like swearing to be mevatel a mitzvah. Because your guf is meshubed to be mekayim the mitzvah of Oina. So the same way you can't swear to be mevatel a mitzvah, when it comes to hanas tashmish, saying koinam gufi letashmishach is like nishba levatel as ha-mitzvah. Okay, everyone, we're going to hold it over here. Have a great day.